Pooja, if you don't mind, could you just give sort of a high-level view of what does the SCA do?
So SCA is basically the capital market regulator for United Arab Emirates. So we regulate the exchanges. So if you've heard about Dubai Financial Market, Abu Dhabi Exchange, we regulate them. Anybody who wishes to trade on these exchanges, we regulate them. Anybody who wishes to offer any kind of mutual fund, advisory services, research services, anything related to the capital markets in UAE will be regulated by us. So we offer licensing, supervision, compliance, all sorts of, that is the basic domains of SCA.
And that also sort of frames this discussion we're going to have because, you know, regulation is a wide area. And in this case, we're talking about capital markets regulations primarily. And we're also talking about something called RegTech and SupTech. What is that? What is RegTech? What is SupTech? What's the difference?
Okay, so basically, I think already a lot has been spoken about them per se. But generally, when people talk of RegTech and SupTech, they think it's the same. So there's a very basic difference between them, or rather a very thin line. So when we talk of RegTech, we're basically trying to talk about how technology is being used by firms to comply with regulations. When we talk of SupTech, it basically means how regulators like SCA is using technology to regulate. So that's a very basic layman difference between SupTech and RegTech.
So if I may paraphrase that, so could it be said as RegTech is on the sort of user side and SupTech is on the regulatory side?
Yes, that's correct.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think we have that in order. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the developments we've seen in the UAE when it comes to improving regulatory compliance and the use of supervisory technologies?
Okay, so I think a lot has already been spoken how COVID has accelerated digital transformation across the financial services industry. So the same can be said about RegTech and SupTech as well. We have seen a lot of investments, a lot of budget allocations by companies into RegTech solutions, into identity management, transaction surveillance, into KYC management, compliance reporting purposes. So there has been a lot of investments there, which has not been seen before. And we have also seen a lot of reliance on third-party vendors by companies to kind of leverage on RegTech through use of this advanced technology such as AI, machine learning. We all have been hearing about them. On the SupTech side, basically there has been an urgency now for regulators to use technology to regulate. Because during COVID, that was the only way we could regulate. We could only regulate remotely. At the same time, the companies we regulate have moved to virtual platforms. Because of that, we cannot operate without SupTech. So what we have seen is a clear movement from the typical on-site inspection, typical post-data analytics, to a much more forward-looking approach, where we are now looking at, we are focusing on data collection, data analytics, data storage. So there's a clear shift on how companies are complying and how we are regulating.
And would you say that COVID, in a sense, has changed the culture and people's approach to adopting these technologies, or was it sort of a we have to do it? What do you think in terms of the mindset?
Basically, if you look at how the regulators were operating, GCC, you look at Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi, you look at UK, Singapore, everybody was at a certain stage of RegTech and SupTech. So we were expecting these changes. In fact, we already had issued a paper last year with like a working paper with Arab Federation of Exchanges where we were already talking about it. But only thing, it got accelerated. So things we were expecting happening 5 years from now, maybe they're happening now.
Which also goes to show that if there's a will, there's a way to make it happen fast, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I also understand that the UAE has been collaborating with other regulators in the GCC region in a specific working group on SupTech and RegTech.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about how that has worked? What's the aim of this working group?
Okay. So what happened was there's a working group across GCC which consists of SCA. There are some participants from Bahrain boards, some participants from Bahrain, the Central Bank of Bahrain, as well as I mentioned, Arab Federation of Capital Markets, where we are actually now looking at how SupTech is evolving in the region, what are the regulators doing, what are the challenges we are facing, how we can work around it. So that's the basic idea what we are working with. Obviously, it is at a much initial stages, and we are looking at global benchmarks as like what Singapore is doing, what UK is doing, whether that can be replicated here or not. So that is where we are at the moment.
Right, and is the idea to try and harmonize it within the region, or I mean, in terms of what approach different countries are taking? Are you seeing more harmonization, or?
See, harmonization has to happen because, as I said, the companies we are regulating, they are present everywhere. They are no more like, there's no more localization anymore. So the harmonization is the reason why SupTech and RegTech has come in the first place. So that's the reason why it has been started. And there's another one, I don't know whether you people are aware, there's a global network called Global Finance Innovation Network, which has been set up almost 3 years ago by FCA UK. And from GCC, we are part of it, and Central Bank of Bahrain is part of it. Now Saudi is also part of it. The basic purpose of that network is to do this, where we are synergizing framework around regulation, fintech, SupTech, RegTech. In fact, now we have just formed a working group with Canada, SEC, US. We are there, and Central Bank of Bahrain is there. And we are trying to synergize SupTech globally and SupTech regionally.
So I think that's a response to some of the challenges that were raised yesterday by business leaders of Yap, Now Money, and so on and so forth. This is exactly what they're asking for, actually, harmonization of regulation, and I think this is a good way of demonstrating what's going on, both regionally and, as you say, with global regulators as
Exactly,
well. I wanted to ask you also, one of the things around regulations is collaboration with other parties in the ecosystem.
Yes.
And you recently launched this FinTech Megathon. Could you tell us about what is it?
See, the basic, as I said, the basic objective of any regulator is to promote the development of the market. And in these days, it is only possible through use of technology. So with that basic idea, a hackathon has been launched in UAE. I think it's first of its kind in the region, in UAE as far as I know. And the basic purpose of it is to bring together all these startups who specialize in financial services technology and use their skills to solve these challenges which the industry is facing in areas such as forex trading, such as financial awareness, RegTech and SupTech, crowdsourcing. I mean, it can go on. So that's the reason why it was started. It was started in May 2021 and we've already completed the first phase of it with United Arab Bank and with Abu Dhabi Exchange. And now we are working on second phase of it, which will be announced in December. And we would be scouting for startups in November, and RegTech and SupTech is a very big part of it. So where we would be looking, in fact, startups who are into, I would say, automating data collection, data validation, data analytics, developing a RegTech space, who can work on making smart predictions based on machine learning, who can help us, basically. So those kind of startups would definitely should have a look at it.
So if I just may ask then, what does a hackathon mean? What is it? How does that work in practice?
Okay, so hackathon is like a problem-solving game. So what happens is basically, suppose there is a company X which is facing a certain challenge, and they want to find a solution of that challenge using fintech or technology. So rather than doing it themselves or hiring a company to do it, they make a statement, they come to us, and we announce that statement, and we ask the startups to bid. I mean, they can have, it's like a pitching competition.
So is it fair to say that you're basically going out to the market to find an actual need that the market has, and then you ask fintechs to try and address that particular issue?
Yeah. So they're shortlisted, and then we have a pitching round where they present their solutions. Whoever is shortlisted has to go through there's a testing phase where we have a sandbox, a tech sandbox, and that solution provided is tested on the real data of the company. So once they clear the testing, there's a POC, and then there is a contract.
And what's the advantage of this tech sandbox that you're talking about?
It's basically used to check whether the solution will actually work on the live data of the company or not. So other than the company hiring a company, spending money on front and then doing it, it's much more cheaper, faster, and better. And it helps us also because we know as regulator what's happening, what works best, and how we can change our regulations.
Right. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, audience, as well.